Hey guys and girls, Poker King here, back with another video, and today we've got something a little bit different than we've had on the channel before. We're going to do some interviews with the UK player base here at UK Games Expo. So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'm Josh Grimes. I've been playing Flesh and Blood for, nearly, I think just over a year and a half, I think. So it's been slowly working through the last few sets. I think my first set was, what was the set? I think it was Uprising. It was when that Uprising came out. It was when I first started playing, and then jumped in nose first, and then loved it ever since. So really, really good fun.
Awesome. And what is your main hero?
So my main hero is Rhinar currently. Looking to swap to Olympia for a bit with the release of some of the cards in Heavy Hitters, but also in the new Part of the Blissfell set, which is mainly the Anvil, Golden Anvil card.
Yeah,
it's really fun with Olympia. So that would be my pivoting, but obviously with not a lot going on between now and like World Nationals period.
Yeah.
I know RTNs or Procast that we know of. I'll probably just be floating around between Rhinar, Dorinthia, Bolton, Olympia, maybe a bit of KO if I really get bored. I don't know.
And so what is it that got you into Flesh and Blood originally?
So funny enough, and this is kind of a weird coincidence, I guess, with regards to the UK Games Expo, was I was here for a Digimon tournament back in 2002. And I was with Alex Chitu, the current UK national champion. He was playing at the time as well. He was also very good at that game as well. Curse him and his ability to play card games well. But during a bit of downtime, he got out some Blitz decks. He was like, you should play Flesh and Blood, give it a go. And I was like, I'm down, let's go. Played Rhinar, funny enough, for the first time, and loved it. Really got enthused with the whole system, the way the game worked, like the way the armor system was. I was like, I'm in. And pretty much since then, I think I then jumped in what would have been the back half of just before Pro Tour Lille was when I first got in, like a month before. I jumped straight in and then went to Pro Tour Lille that month for the calling.
Wow, okay,
So I fully invested as soon as he played it, as soon as he sort of showed me the game.
Wow, okay, that's amazing. So what are some things that you could see that could be improved with the game in terms of not just the gameplay of it, but maybe the way that the releases are made, the products that we get?
I think in terms of, I think one of the bigger things right now is that there's such a big focus on the competitive side, which I'm all for. Like I'm a big competitive player. Obviously, even though I may not necessarily do well, or I haven't got the time to grind and do some things that some of the top players do, I do like the elements of what is currently being provided. But there at the moment needs to be a kind of a bridge between people getting in the game and then people going into that competitive mindset. At the moment, there's a big middle ground where if you're not fully on the competitive angle, or you're going, say, fully into the casual angle, like you're in this weird grey zone, it can be quite hard to stay kind of up to date with the game and enthused with the game, especially if the sets that come out have no real bearing on your hero or class. Now, granted, with the expansion slot, that's really changed. Like, Olympia would have had nothing this set except for the now Golden Anvil card, which looks to be like a real change to the deck. So that's a really good positive. So, but I think there needs to be done more maybe at the armory level, maybe the way skirmishes work, the way that kind of on-ramping can happen to some of the more premier events. An example would be one of the things that I used to do when I played Magic was there was what was GPTs or GPQs, or I think they're called Grand Prix qualifiers, where they were just local tournaments that you could go to and you can earn yourself buys for the big events, like the GP events. So, so with the callings could be a similar system where either through XP or through an event such as a calling qualifier, you can gain buys or some form of benefit going into a large calling event. Now, obviously, there's obviously massive caveats or other things logistically that can happen with that, but I definitely think something that could foster more local growth outside of armories, because at the moment now with the loss of XP and XP being less of a qualifying thing, what's the reason to go to armories outside of going to armories to play, which is great, but also and seeing friends, fantastic, but I think it just needs to be that extra little incentive outside of promos.
Yeah, I think that really makes sense. I think a lot of people kind of feel that gap between the casual and going to that competitive, where this game is, a premier competitive game. Yeah. And they've obviously spent a lot of time and money on the circuit, but that casual element to it needs to be there, because the removal of the XP, as you said, the numbers I see at armory events, a lot of stores are stopping them now because people just like
it's so geo-based. I know that, for instance, my local store in Dice Saloon in Brighton, like we actually have quite a good, healthy scene of a good, consistent 12 to 10, 15 people sometimes, like on a really good day. So we had a sold-out pre-release of 16, so we're doing okay, and it seems to go week on week. But I definitely understand that other communities all over the place are like just dropping the game, don't even look at the game, don't even see the game. So like, and because then it becomes so limited, I live 45 minutes away from my shop, my local shop.
Yeah.
But if I move further away and I have to now suddenly drive an hour and a half each way to go to a shop, it's like, oh, that's a killer.
To go to an armory event, it's
killer.
Yeah.
So maybe something skirmishes can maybe retooled. I know that people have a bit of umming about skirmishing because Blitz may not necessarily be the most popular format, and dependent on if the current sealed rotation is good. Like if I can see Part of the Mistveil and even Heavy Hitters being quite popular for sealed. I don't know how skirmishes is for Heavy Hitters. I wasn't too much around it, but Part of the Mistveil I can definitely see being quite popular for the skirmish season. But then outside of sealed, if you're not a massive sealed fan, like I personally don't have massive sticks in sealed. I'm not a great sealed player. I would love to learn, but I just don't. It's also quite an investment of money.
It's a lot of time and money.
So maybe Blitz. Blitz. I feel like it's a real kind of hard topic. I can definitely see why it could exist, but I also see why people don't want it to exist. Because it's not that fun of a format.
Do you think that the creation of these armory decks is a good product?
100%. I just wish they maybe had come out with more in one go. Because if you don't like KO, or you don't want to play Brute, why? Or even if it's from a perspective of not how the deck plays, just how the deck looks, the character. What sold me on Flesh and Blood originally was the character art. I looked at the list of like, Alex showed me the hero thing, like look at the heroes, and like Lexi immediately drew me in. I didn't play Lexi because I didn't want to buy a new Horizon. But it's that thing of that drew me in immediately, and then the same with Rhinar. He like you look at the character, drew me in. And so if you don't like KO, why would you buy that deck? Especially at £40.
It's very hero centric, and people play the heroes they like. Obviously, we've got the Bolton one coming out next, but it's such big gaps between the release. Rather than releasing 6 at once and having people just choose who they wanted to play, I feel like it kind of limits. And obviously, having Flesh and Blood here at UK Games Expo for the first time is an absolute huge win, not only for the game going forward, but for the UK player scene. Because the UK player scene, I would say overall seems to be dwindling a little bit these last 12 months.
I'd be interested to see how Nationals goes. I know that the calling was okay. Liverpool calling was an interesting one because weirdly enough, I went to Worlds in Barcelona, and the cost of me going now, granted, this isn't on the actual event organisers or LSS or anything like that, but the cost of me going up to Liverpool, and I live in the UK, to go up to Liverpool and stay there for 2 nights or 3 nights was the same as my entire trip to Barcelona. I haven't even entered the tournament at that point. It's nuts. So I don't know how the numbers did. And I think a lot of the European players as well who would have flown over, be it in like Birmingham, for instance, NEC, right, where it's been before, near an airport, and they can get there and then they can it's quite easy. So I don't know.
I think Barcelona for me as well, that was cheaper than Liverpool. Liverpool was expensive. It's, the travel in the UK is really obviously a big problem. It's nothing to do with Fab, and obviously, but it is something to take into account when doing these events. When it's, I almost hope that more events are in Europe than the UK, unless it's going to be like near me down the south, for instance. We've had Liverpool, we've had Birmingham. We're hoping for something a bit more. We had
Nationals in London that first year, and that was a bit of a massive mess due to circumstances. I mean, like, the weird thing for me as well is that we have this entire category of event, Battle Hardens, that we don't see as a UK as much. Now, that is probably one thing I would say to LSS is to look at. It's like, give us more Battle Hardens, or tweak how Battle Hardens are. Either I don't think the correct thing would be to make a new event, let's say between Skirmish thing, Battle Hardens. Either tweak the scope of Battle Hardens to bring them into a smaller scope, so that you can provide more to a group of people. Like, you can have a Battle Harden North, a Battle Harden South UK. So you have it clusters together those communities. So in Scotland there's quite a big community, right, with Mox and the Hull. Even with like Manchester, sort of the big cities up there, and then obviously London is huge. So we can start to cluster those together rather than you having to travel all the way up somewhere. So I think if we could see more battle hardened, I don't know why we don't have more battle hardened, because right now, as someone who's not qualified for nationals or going to worlds or qualified for a pro tour, what have I got to as a competitive player look forward to?
Yeah,
I'm literally
there's nothing.
Part of Misfail as a set, competitive set, and like at a higher tier 2, 3, 1 event is going to pass me by because I have nothing to really go to unless I go to a calling.
And it'll be waiting for the next set. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like the next set. So I think having something that could be bridging those gaps between like what is a calling and what is a battle hardened, like maybe change the scope of how battle hardened is. And I think also people have talked about how battle hardened pricing isn't really worth the value of you going to battle hardened. Like me going to a battle hardened in maybe France is like the only option of like a decent trip. Going to like Germany, Netherlands, any of those other places, it's just not really going to be feasible because it's such a cost for not a lot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that makes sense. Any final words?
I think overall, like, it's super thing. I mean, I think there's a lot more eyes on the game. The game is growing ever. You know, it's growing. It is growing as much as it may not be growing in the UK. It is growing globally. Obviously, Japan is a huge market now. That's really exciting. That is one thing, I guess, as a card game player, I loved going to Japan. I went to Japan for playing Magic, and I think being able to now go over to Japan and play Flesh Bird is like a super draw. So that's really good, and I hope they do really well. I just hope that in the UK things can continue to build, grow, and also we can get more singles vendors.
Yeah,
singles are a nightmare to get hold of in the UK. If you're not on the recent set, you can't really get hold of a lot of the stuff. Trying to find heavy hitter singles anywhere is a nightmare.
Yeah,
so,
100%. Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.